Hello everybody, this is Megan with Goddess Elite. I am bringing you another deck review. Got something that I think is a really nice addition, or would be a really nice addition to your collection. This is a deck that's called the Haindl deck. It's an older deck, it's been around. It is an esoteric deck. It's got a lot of correspondences that you will not find in your normal tarot deck. Especially the Rider-Waite, you won't find some of this imagery. This is what it looks like. If you're interested in purchasing it, it looks kind of like this. It's very unassuming. So if you look at it, it's a very unassuming kind of a deck. It's got a few neat things on it, but it doesn't tell you a whole lot about what's inside the box. That's my job. When you open up the box, you find that the deck backs have this wonderful Eye of Horus kind of all-seeing eye emblem. The deck has a nice light feel. It has a deep feel. It has a light energy feel, but it has a very deep, profound kind of a feel to it. A lot of the correspondences that I wanted to tell you about, this deck works well with a number of different systems. This deck has imagery on a good number of the cards that correspond to a number of different schools of thought in symbolic language, I should say. There are astrological symbols. There are symbols of the Futhark. That's the Norse runes. A set of those. There are correspondences to the I Ching. There are correspondences to the Kabbalah, because the Hebraic alphabet is also represented on it. So for those people who are looking for something a little bit deeper, when you pull a card, you can look at that and say, oh, that's Aleph, or that's Mars, or that's, one of the Futhark symbols, and you can pull more meaning out of the cards sometimes, given those correspondences. You can be overdone. This deck kind of pushes that envelope with the symbolism that's in it, but it's not traditional. You're not going to find the traditional Rider-Waite in this deck in any way. And without further ado, I bring you the Fool. Not the traditional Fool card of a fool walking off of a cliff. And a lot of the symbolism I am going to leave open to your own interpretation. The artist has a number of things that he comments on in the booklet and the commentary that comes with the deck. But a lot of it is imagery that is going to resonate for the person who picks this up. So that's the Fool. The Magician. Very deep cards. You can see the Futhark there, and you can see the Hebraic letter there as well. All four suits. You get the image of a face right underneath my finger there, and what that is. Got rain in the background. Isn't that nice? Love doing a review to the rain. It's coming in the window. High Priestess is very non-traditional. We have the image of a dromedary, of a camel. Which has some correspondences to some schools. We have the Empress, which is usually depicts feminine fertility and pregnancy. A woman who's pregnant with possibilities to bring new ideas, new life into the world. The Emperor, completely nude there. Yes, I'll let you know. It's a completely nude card. Don't make any disclaimers when I show tarot. Not the traditional card at all. Usually the Emperor is sitting on this four-cornered seat symbolizing the four directions and the four elements, and he's firmly footed in the world. And this, he is definitely a part of the world in which he is depicted in. The colors bind him to it. The tree of life, there's a reference to that behind him. So, real good symbol for him. The Hierophant. Very acidic looking Jewish kind of a fellow. Is very, very, very introspective and keeper of esoteric knowledge. The Lovers, another really good card. The Chariot. There's a lot in these images that I could tell you about, talk about, but I think a lot of it should be left up to you to figure out on these cards. I think the images speak for themselves. Strength is usually depicted with a woman and a lion or a woman and a bear. In this case, we have a woman and a serpent, and I can certainly quote, there's a number of different traditions where you've got this idea of a woman stepping on the head of a serpent, a woman, how should I say it, taming the serpent, and there's where we have it in this card. It's Eve, The Hermit is one of my favorite cards in any tarot deck, and this one is no exception. It's very well done. And again, you have this idea of this hermit. What's really neat is you find him at this crossroads. Look, he's standing in the middle of a crossroads, and he has this light, and it's the light above him as well. The mirror images the light that he's holding. Crossroads, I think, is very, very significant, but a good hermit card. Wheel of Fortune is very traditional, as is Justice card. The Hanged Man is beautifully done with a rainbow in the background. You see the Hanged Man, it's just a little translucent, and you can see through him. I think that there's a lot to be said for this card. I think it's one of the most special cards in the deck. In this card, we get this sense that as one loses more ego and gives more and more of oneself and loses oneself in the work that the universe wants one to do, the ego kind of just fades away. And I think that's one of the images in this card, is that rainbow, the translucency of the hanged person, and this idea of divine work almost in helping the universe move forward. So good card. Of course, reversed, it's self-sacrifice in the extreme. Death is another card that's pretty neat. We have a raven. We have a bony arm that's in there. You'll notice that it looks like the hands of a clock. There's this reference to time and the raven and death and change in time. So another good card. Alchemy. They term this card alchemy. It's temperance under another name. This idea of ebb and flow, yin and yang. Great card. The Devil. Really well done card. The Tower. Tower is almost a cosmic image of a tower. The Star is just absolutely gorgeous. The Moon is not what your typical image of a moon would be. The Sun, typical Sun card. They call this card Aeon. Okay, Judgment. This is the card of self-judgment, judgment by the universe. It's more about self-judgment, but in this case, we see this idea of the cosmic egg with the embryo inside of it, which represents every living being, and the journey that we make and how it's contingent on how we judge ourselves and how we are judged, but mostly on how we judge ourselves, which kind of determines what the next life is going to be, the decisions we make, whether we've learned, whether we haven't. So it's a really good card. And the universe is the card that is their world card. That wraps up the major arcana. Really not very Rider-Waite at all. So if you're looking for a deck that's getting away from Rider-Waite, this is it, folks. The next set of cards is the next part of this deck is the minor arcana. The minor arcana are composed of 4 different suits, as you well know. These suits are broken up into, or divided according to the 4 major religious practices of the world. So, we have the Egyptian pantheon, we have the Celtic pantheon, we have the Hindu pantheon, which is here, and we have the Native American pantheon. I just dumped my cards. I have to go pick those up. Give me 1 second just to dive down here. Oh, I made a mess. See? When the later you do reviews at night, the more you drop. So, anyway. Let's hope I got most of those. Let's see. So anyway, I'm going to go through some of these with you really briefly. And let you know what the some highlights of the court cards. So, for instance, we have Brahma as the king of spears or rods. I'm going to give you just one representation or two. Kali as the queen of rods. Moving on into stones or pentacles, we have Old Man Coyote in the Native American tradition. Old Man as the king of stones. Spider Woman as the queen of stones. Pretty neat. Going into Ra as the king of swords. We have Isis as the page of swords. The artwork is really beautiful. This is one of my favorite suits. Here is Cups. Odin as the king of cups. Venus of Willendorf as the queen of cups. Percival as the knight of cups. And Bridget as the page of cups, with those monoliths standing there in the foreground with in a kind of a henge formation. So I'm going to leave the pip cards open. Don't want to get too much into those tonight. Maybe I'll show you one or two. I think I pulled a couple here that I thought were kind of on the special side. 3 of Swords. We have this idea of one sword that's torn this membrane that's allowing tears to come through. Very, very good imagery. The Ace of Cups. This is a neat one. The 2 of Cups for love. And I thought this was a neat one too. 5 of Stones. You see all the movement with the boulders? It's like the earth has in this upheaval and has tossed these huge boulders up into the air, which sometimes can be what it feels like when there's upheaval in one's life. So that is my review of the reveal of the Haindl Tarot. It is a wonderful deck for somebody looking for something that's just a little bit more. It's going to give you a little more imagery to work with. It's a good deck to pull out when you're doing a read for a client that's more complex. It's not the typical how's my love life kind of thing going. So if you do your first read and it seems like there are some deeper issues, their higher self really wants them to learn something that's got some depth to it, this deck is a really wonderful tool to pull out. So stop in. We've got one in stock right now, and we will be getting more in stock, especially since people are going to come and start buying it more because it really is a wonderful deck. This is Megan with Goddess Elite, wishing you a wonderful night, and thanks for tuning in, and look for my next review. Take care. Bye-bye.